everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to studentloanjustice.org. It is Monday, April 3rd. Song I tried to play back there poorly was Youngstown by Bruce Springsteen. Apologies to Bruce. But tonight I want to talk about Ohio. Ohio, it turns out, is very important in the fight for student loan justice. Whether you're from there or not from there, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is there's a guy, Jim Jordan, who is in charge of the House Judiciary Committee in Ohio. He's from somewhere to the west of Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. So if you happen to live in that district, you become all the more important. So here's the history, guys. And first of all, let me say, welcome. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been studying this issue for 18 years and fighting about it for 18 years. And I can tell you that there's two things that need to happen right now in this order. Bankruptcy has got to be returned to federal student loans and private student loans. The constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy has got to be returned. Beyond that, all, not some, all federally owned student loans must be canceled. The president, secretary can do this without needing one dime from the Treasury, without adding even a penny to the national debt. And the lending system has catastrophically failed at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So we're fighting for those two things in that order, because the most important truth, maybe that I'll tell you tonight, that we've discovered over many, many, many years of looking very closely at this problem, is that we're not going to see Joe Biden or any other president or anyone do anything meaningful with your student loans unless and until we, the people, get the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy returned to us. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. Very few people, maybe even no one, will actually have to file bankruptcy when we get the right returned. Just having the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side is absolutely what must happen in order for anything else good to happen with your student loans and my student loans. I'm a student loan borrower, by the way. I'm a defaulted student loan borrower. So whatever your student loan situation may be, don't feel bad about it at all. It's not your fault. We didn't break this lending system. This lending system tried to break us. So the founding fathers are on our side, and we're glad that you found us. I hope that you will tell everyone you know about this group, because we are literally the only group, literally the only group I can point to that is actually fighting the fight as it needs to be fought. We can be begging Joe Biden or Donald Trump or any other president forever for loan cancellation, and what we'll get is this nonsense like what we just saw with Joe Biden, an election eve gimmick that winds up meaning almost nothing for almost everyone, or maybe even absolutely nothing for everyone. That's the way this game is played, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to tell you that, but it's just true. So we came very close last year to getting a very good bankruptcy bill passed, both through the Senate and the House. We expect our bankruptcy bill to come back out in the Senate very soon. But what's important this congressional session, we've got to convince the Republicans to champion that bill in the House. And that's the only way this is going to work, guys. That's the only way that we're going to get bankruptcy rights back. And as I said, we're not going to see anything else beyond that that's good unless and until we get bankruptcy back. So Jim Jordan in Ohio becomes very important because he is the head of the House Judiciary Committee, formerly headed by Jerry Nadler in New York last session. Last session, the Democrats essentially betrayed us. I just have to say, and by the way, we're a fiercely non-partisan group. We pretty much hate both parties at this point. We've got over 1.2 million members. In fact, we've got close to 1.4 million members, last I checked, across our petition and our various other platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And by the way, if you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook, you have a comment, let me know. So why on earth should Jim Jordan, of all people, fight with us to return bankruptcy rights to student loans? Well, number one, just the simple stuff. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. Taking this right away has enabled the worst big government, college enriching, red state wrecking, including and especially Ohio, lending scam that this country has ever seen in not only modern America history, but I think the entirety of U.S. history, going back to the founding. The numbers nationally, you probably already know, we owe like $1.8 trillion in federal and private student loan debt. But in states like Ohio, it is absolutely jaw-dropping how badly the state of Ohio is being hurt by this debt. So something like 1.75 million people, that's 1 in 5 of all adults in Ohio, 1 in 5, have student loans. And 85% of those people, so that's like what, 1.5 million people in Ohio, were never going to be able to repay their student loans even before, not after, before the pandemic. So that's only gotten worse, I guarantee you. So how much, you may ask, how much do the people in Ohio owe? Well, I'll tell you. And before I do, let me say this. The state budget of Ohio, it's a big budget. It's $65 billion. That's a ton of money. That's every penny that the state of Ohio spends every single year for roads, bridges, the whole entire state government, everything the state government of Ohio does, $65 billion a year. The people of Ohio owe $75 billion, and almost 90% of that is federal student loan debt. So think about that. $75 billion. What could you buy with that in Ohio? You could buy a lot. You could probably build the whole damn city of Columbus like once over with $75 billion. No, maybe not, but it is a huge, extraordinary, jaw-dropping amount of money. Like interest alone on that debt, assuming an average of about 6% interest. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done this. I'm going to make myself do math on the cuff. Something like $4 billion, $4.2 billion a year is added to the backs of the people of Ohio in mostly federal student loan debt. That's $4.2 billion leaving the state of Ohio every year and going mostly to the books of the Department of Education, the weaponized Department of Education. So why should Jim Jordan be fighting for us? Everybody in Ohio should be fighting for us. Like, what would happen if tomorrow we somehow strong-armed $75 billion out of the people of Ohio? What would that do to the state? I think it would probably turn it into one huge, disgusting, like, strip mall. It would rape the state financially. It would be like something we've never seen before. It would be Depression-era economy in Ohio if that happened. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's actually what's happening. Maybe in slow motion, but that is what Ohio faces. And, for the life of me, I don't understand why news organizations in Ohio aren't reporting just that top line statistic that I just said. $75 billion. And by the way, and this is true nationally as well, the majority of those people, they're not blue-haired liberal snowflakes. No. The majority of those 1.75 million people in Ohio that are strangled by the $75 billion in student loan debt, most of them are either Republican or independent, probably significantly more than most of them in a relatively conservative state like Ohio. So this is Jim Jordan's base. And, that's true nationally as well. Republicans everywhere should be on our side. There are a few states that are actually worse than Ohio as a percentage. States like Georgia, states like North and South Carolina, Pennsylvania is pretty bad, not quite as bad. But you get my point. But it is most very acute in Ohio. And, there's just nothing. There's not anything that any politician in Ohio can do to defend this federal lending scam. Jim Jordan runs a committee fighting against the weaponization of the federal government. Well, there is nothing more weaponized than the federal student loan program. Jim Jordan knows, or at least he should know, that nearly every fundamental consumer protection has been removed from these loans. These loans have been weaponized against the citizens. Bankruptcy, gone. Exists for every other kind of loan, pretty much gone, essentially, for all intents, gone from federal student loans and private student loans. Statutes of limitations, gone, not there for federal student loans. So these have become lifelong bonds of economic indenture. And the people being hurt, as I said, more than half of them are either Republican or independent. The average age of the people on our group has got to be 45, if not 50. It's the older people that are being hurt worse by these loans, who have already been hurt worst. But this isn't an age thing. This isn't a party thing. This is a state sovereignty issue, I would say. And no true conservative should be defending this lending monstrosity. But more than that, every true conservative should be marching with us, shoulder to shoulder, fighting this big government monstrosity and standing up to the colleges who, make no mistake, behind the scenes are fighting against us. The colleges love this lending racket. They've been able to enrich themselves on it. Now, I don't know what sort of ties Representative Jim Jordan has with the colleges and universities of Ohio. I suspect he has some. I've heard he has some. I believe he used to be like a coach or something at Ohio State. Am I wrong? Not sure about that, but it doesn't matter. The people are far more important than the colleges. And any conservative who sides with the colleges over the people, he shouldn't be calling himself conservative. And I don't know what Jim Jordan calls himself, but I would imagine he probably considers himself to be not only a conservative, but a leading conservative. A torchbearer for conservatives everywhere. And if that's true, then Jim Jordan needs to be fighting with us, not against us. I don't care what he says about loan cancellation. I really don't. The only thing I care about is bankruptcy. I mean, the loans will have to be canceled. There's no way around that. But bankruptcy rights have got to be returned to these loans, number one. And Jim Jordan, if he wants to be a responsible standard bearer for the Republican Party, he would join us. And remember, it's not just us. It's not like we're alone. Very conservative thinkers from places like, George Mason University and the Cato Institute and the Federalist Society and the National Review. They've all written articles calling for exactly what I just said: the return of constitutionally enshrined bankruptcy rights to student loans. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, and hopefully very few people will have to. Bankruptcy has got to be there to keep the federal government on a leash, because right now the federal government is unleashed and they are ravaging this country, most especially Ohio. So I hope that makes sense. And I don't know if you could forward this to Jordan and his staff. I am at his beck and call if he should require an expert briefing. As I said, we've been doing this for many, many, many years. We've been featured on 60 Minutes. We've broken stories in the Chronicle of Higher Education and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. We've broken stories in Inside Higher Ed. We've broken all manner of stories, and we stand 1,000% behind our research, and nobody has ever been able to disprove any of our claims because our claims are correct. And so I can only hope and pray that Jim Jordan will be able to take a step back from the cartoonish partisan food fighting around this issue, which is nonsensical, and take a look at the real numbers and look at what is happening, not only to the entire state of Ohio, but most especially to his own base. So, met your beck and call, Jim. You got to stand up for the people, not the colleges, and certainly not the federal government. People like Virginia Fox, North Carolina, are just so completely wrong on this issue. It is frightening, and this is going to get worse for the Republicans. This is going to get far worse, far quicker for the Republicans going forward. You wonder what happened to the red wave? Student loans happened. Like I said, Georgia's the worst state. What happened in Georgia? Arizona is terrible. People of Arizona owe as much as the entire state budget in student loan debt. Arizona. Michigan owes more than the entire state budget in student loan debt. And Michigan has got a really high per capita state budget as well. But yep, student loan debt exceeds the entire state budget of the state of Michigan. So this will absolutely get worse for the Republicans if the Republican leadership, Jim Jordan being chief among them in the House, don't turn over a new leaf and take a very fresh look at this problem and quit listening to the swamp. Quit listening to idiots and these federal government sycophants like Grover Norquist. Very sorry to have to say that. Grover likes to say the government should be small enough that you can take it to the bath and drown it in the tub. The federal student loan program needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. Grover Norquist argues against us, which is the most eye-popping, bone-jarring hypocrisy you can possibly imagine. Jim Jordan needs to get out, needs to quit listening to that crowd because they are poison. They're poison for Ohio. They're poison for the GOP. So I'm looking for your questions and comments right now, guys. I'm going to wrap this up quickly tonight. But I just felt it was just very important that I get that out there. If Jim Jordan is actually concerned about fighting the weaponization of the federal government, the first place he should be looking that really matters, that actually matters in the lives of Ohioans, like nearly 2 million of them, most of whom are Republican or independent, is the student loan scam. So I'm looking for your comments right now. I hope everybody's doing well. Oh, I should also say right now, guys, and I'm sorry to break in with this, but if you look down, you can see a GoFundMe link. We have to raise, we're very close on our fundraiser. We've got to raise $8,000 to replace the SLJ van. So far, we have raised like $7,400, I believe. So we are just a razor's edge from finally finishing that fundraiser. So please, if you care about this group at all and you want us to hang around and continue this fight, and I hope that you do, please turn over a new leaf if you've never donated and just do that GoFundMe thing, if you would, please. So I think we need 30 people at this point to donate like $20 or more. We hopefully can and should and hopefully will get this done by tonight. It would really make things easier on us, ladies and gentlemen, because fundraising for us is just historically always been extraordinarily difficult. Poison for Ohio, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I'm looking for your comments now. Sorry to be lagging on this. Hey, Christina Wynn's with us tonight. Hey, Christina. Christina says, April Fool's joke aside, this week is already busy with tweets and letters to media. Yeah, good point. In fact, we tweeted to Jim Jordan earlier today. And as a matter of fact, if you're looking at us on Facebook, go to the pinned Facebook post and you can see a tweet that we are sending to Jim Jordan. I will include that tweet in the comments below this discussion here tonight, this live stream. Make sure that you retweet that. And I would say also, maybe quote tweet it or forward it or retweet it to important people in Ohio, especially conservatives, like maybe who's the new senator there, J.D. Vance, maybe the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, maybe the Ohio GOP, and every single newspaper in Ohio that you can imagine. I just sent a letter to the editor. Technically, our headquarters is located in Akron, Ohio. I kid you not. So I wrote a letter to the editor of one of the Ohio newspapers today. Hopefully it will get published. If you live in Ohio, you also should be writing a letter to the editor of your favorite local newspaper. So good. I'm glad to hear that, Christina. Christina's a real tour de force for us there in Arizona. And I think Christina is going to be on one of our very near future live streams, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I think we are sort of planning to have Christina on Thursday. So I won't just be a lone talking head up here, which I love. Anyways, hey, Lauren Schreiber is with us tonight. Hey, Lauren. Lauren says, agreed. They should have been canceled already. You know, that's the cruelest irony about this whole thing, Lauren. This entire lending system should have been abandoned years or decades ago. Quite frankly, I think in 2008, they should have completely reinvented the student loan program. This lending system was failed that far back. But at this point, there's no saving it. There's just absolutely no saving it. And there should be no saving it. This thing is a national catastrophe and no matter what Jim Jordan or anybody else in Congress does or doesn't do, whenever they try and turn these loans back on, almost nobody's going to pay. My best guess is that maybe 15 or 20% probably at the most of borrowers will actually resume paying on their loans when they try and turn them back on. So yeah, this lending system is just done. So I hope that Jim Jordan will do the right thing, will do the civil thing, instead of us having to deal with a very messy, potentially civilly unrestful, and absolutely Republican damaging unwinding of this loan scam. Because right now the Republicans have been tricked onto the wrong side of this issue. I don't know if that's by design or by happenstance or why that is, but it is. Hey, Joanna Kearns is with us from Florida. Hey, Joanna. Joanna says, good evening. I have written many letters to the editor, both to Florida media outlets and others, and I still have only gotten one reply. I am once again waiting to get a response from Senator Marco Rubio and Congresswoman Louise Frankel about getting a meeting with Alan Collins and myself. Good point, Joanna. We urge you, wherever you are, try and get us in a meeting, especially with your Republican lawmakers. So if you live in Ohio, try and call Jim Jordan's. If Jim Jordan happens to be your congressman, call Jim Jordan's office. And as a constituent, you have every right to ask for a meeting with their staff. So if you have a Republican member of Congress, either in the House or the Senate, or a Democrat, we're fine with Democrats. We like talking to them. We're perfectly fine talking to Democrats as well, like Louise Frankel. We would prefer, if we had to pick, we'd probably pick Republicans, especially this session, because that's the only way this problem is going to get solved. But get us in a meeting with your Republican lawmaker. Call them up, call their office, say, I'm a constituent. I would like to have a meeting either with Representative Jordan or whoever your representative is, or senator, and or a member of his judiciary staff. Judiciary. Why can I never say that? Judiciary. Get a meeting with them and bring us onto that meeting. You can drop my name. Say you want to bring me into it. My name is Alan Collins. The email address is Alan, ALAN, at studentloanjustice.org. Phone number is 202-594-1120. I am the founder of studentloanjustice.org. I am very glad to come in on that phone call and give them a short or long expert briefing on this topic. I can answer all of their questions. We're good at this, guys. It's the one thing we're good at. I don't know nothing about nothing, but I know a lot about student loans. I've been doing this for many years. We've been sharpening this razor this knife to a razor's edge. If we're not talking to congressmen and senators about student loans, we're what are we doing? It does no good for me to be sitting here twiddling my thumbs. I would much rather be briefing the staff of House and Senate Republicans and Democrats, but I'd prefer Republicans right now, just because that's the way it goes. Hey, Susanna Tanner's with us tonight. Hey, Susanna. Susanna says, I hope they cancel private loans. Susanna, I've got bad news for you. I just don't see that happening. I don't see canceling private student loans happening. Private entities own those loans. The only way that they can be canceled through any act of Congress or the federal government is by the federal government purchasing those loans, probably at either full book value or maybe even more than full book value, if they can even do that legally, which is another question. And then canceling the loans. So Congress is never in when it comes to, they are not into spending money. Like federal student loans can be canceled with not a dime from the Treasury, not even a nickel added to the national debt. That's easy. Private loans is a whole different thing. So Susanna, I'm sorry that to report that to you. If we really saw something just miraculous happen in this country where all of a sudden the government actually wanted to help the people, maybe we could see something like that. But the best that we can do for private loans, and this is also true for privately held, federally guaranteed loans, fortunately or unfortunately, the best we can do is get bankruptcy rights back for those loans. Now that will have some great consequences for you as a private student loan borrower. On a credit card, for example, if you charge $5,000 on a credit card, all of a sudden they jack it up to $30,000 or $40,000 with ridiculous interest and nonsense penalties and fees, etc. You could say, "Hey, buddies, what are we doing here? Am I going to file for bankruptcy or what are we doing?" And they'll go, "No. Okay. Payback. We're gonna clip the card in half. We're gonna put you on a 5-year payment plan so you pay back the $5,000 that you originally borrowed, and we're gonna cancel all the interest, and that's what we're gonna do." And if that works for you, then that's what you do. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have to actually file for bankruptcy. Whatever the case may be, it's a pretty fair deal, no matter how you slice it or dice it. So whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important. We have got to get the right of bankruptcy returned, not only to federal student loans, but also private student loans. That is, if you care about student loans and solving this problem at all, that would be where your laser focus is. And after we get bankruptcy back, quite frankly, I think the president probably is going to have to cancel loans broadly, meaningfully. If I was president, I would cancel them totally, but that's just me. So that's my best advice to you, Susanna. The only other thing I could say about private loans is that you may want to be aware of the fact that, unlike federal student loans, private student loans do have statutes of limitations. So you should research what the statutes of limitations are in your state, and just learn everything you can about statutes of limitations for private student loans in your state and act thusly. Okay, guys, I said I was going to keep it short tonight. One more last word of encouragement from Joanna Kearns in Florida. She says, "Exactly. Come on, Ohio people, please," from Joanna Kearns. "Together we can solve this problem." Yes, exactly, guys. We got this. All we need to solve the student loan problem, and I'm just talking about the people on this group, all we need is you helping us. If you've never done anything for student loan justice, the least that you can do is go to our website, do the past 2 weeks worth of our daily actions, and get into the habit of doing our daily actions every day. We don't do them every day. We do them maybe 3 or 4 times a week. So do the past 2 weeks or maybe even a month worth of our daily actions. They're very easy. They're very simple. They take very little of your time. Don't fucking ignore me about them, please, by the way, like most people do. We're not here for your entertainment, guys. This is a working, fighting group. And we have learned the very hard way that when the people on our group don't do anything, absolutely nothing happens. This group right here is the moving force behind getting the student loan problem solved in this country. I kid you not. The other groups are full of shit, I'm sorry to report, but they are. A couple of them are straight up corrupted. A couple of them literally don't want to solve the student loan problem because they're making too much money pimping the student loan problem. That's true. We're it, guys. We're it. Nothing more than people have ever solved any problems in this country going back to forever. That's probably true throughout the history of humankind. Normal people like you and me have always been the reason that these things get solved. And when we don't fight, we lose. And we've learned that the bitter hard way over 18 long fucking years. Pardon my French. So if you want to be in this group, you got to pull your own weight. And sorry about the tough love, but that is the reality. Like it or lump it. Well, thank you, Nicholas Lakey. So let me just summarize tonight for you. Please donate for the van, guys, so I can shut up about it. please get a letter to the editor of your local paper written calling for either the return of bankruptcy to student loans, the cancellation of all federally owned student loans, or both. Please do our daily actions. And let me just throw in one fourth thing. Join your state chapter group. We have 50 state chapters. They're all growing. They're all right now starting to really activate as we speak. They need your help. Many of them need your leadership, depending on what state you're in. Join your state chapter. And I would say tune into these live streams at least maybe, I'd say at least maybe once a week or a couple of times a month. Things change. Things are changing pretty quickly around this issue right now as we speak. You want to be a part of it. And we want you to be a part of it. And so, unless this group gets this thing done, I don't see the problem getting solved, guys. I don't want to lay it on too thick, but you actually may probably understand how important this group is right now on the student loan problem, and has been for many, many years. We wouldn't be seeing a bankruptcy bill in the Congress at all, but for the people on this group. We wouldn't be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order, but for the people on this group. That whole thing started, the genesis of that concept started on this group. And I can prove that to you if you're doubtful. But anyways, this is it, guys. This is as grassroots as it gets. Only you can solve this problem. We can't pull your weight for you. You got to put your back into this fight. And I think Nicholas and Joanna and others on our group, they will tell you it feels very good to fight this fight. You know, the stuff that I just said tonight to Jim Jordan probably doesn't even know half of that stuff, if any of it. They just don't. Congress doesn't know a lot. The members of Congress just don't know that much about this problem. So it's a very important educational function that we serve. We need you in this fight. Please join us. I'll be back on Wednesday, if not tomorrow. Certainly on Wednesday. Do all that stuff I said. And buck up, guys. We got this when you help us fight. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next weeks and months and year, hopefully not longer than a year, bring. So I'll see you on Wednesday, if not tomorrow. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everyone.